Y&R the Rinse. February 20th. Abby sets boundaries with Mariah and reshapes Dominic's future. On The Young and the Restless, Abby draws a hard line with Mariah and puts Dominic first, changing the family dynamic for good. In the February 20th episode of The Young and the Restless, Abby drew a firm line with Mariah after coming face to face with the woman who kidnapped her son. The confrontation didn't just reopen wounds, it clarified exactly where Abby stood and what she would no longer tolerate. Her decisions set a new standard for how she plans to protect Dominic moving forward. Abby, Melissa Ordway, didn't hesitate when she encountered Mariah, Cameron Grimes, in public. The moment quickly became uncomfortable as Dominic, Ethan Ray Clark, gravitated toward Mariah, still unaware of what had really happened. While Mariah tried to express remorse and take accountability, Abby made it clear that words weren't enough. She shut down any possibility of reconciliation in that moment. Abby wasn't interested in revisiting the past or offering understanding. From her perspective, Mariah's actions crossed a line that couldn't be undone, especially when it involved her child. Devin, Brighton James, had already been struggling with how to process everything, and Abby's stance aligned with his growing concerns. While he understood that Mariah hadn't been in her right mind, that didn't erase the risk. The situation left him uneasy, particularly given lingering questions about Mariah's stability. For Abby, the focus stayed on Dominic. She wasn't weighing emotions or past relationships. Protecting her son came first, and that meant drawing a clear boundary. Devin's perspective only reinforced that decision, making it clear they were united in putting Dominic's safety above everything else. Abby's choice marked a turning point. The dynamic that once held their unconventional family together no longer existed in the same way. Trust had been broken, and Abby showed no willingness to restore it. By taking such a firm stance, Abby redefined the relationships around her. Her priority was clear, and that clarity is likely to influence how everyone else moves forward. The fallout doesn't just impact Mariah, it changes the balance for everyone connected to them. But what Abby did on February 20th wasn't just a reaction, it was a reset. The air between Abby and Mariah didn't just feel tense, it felt final. Dominic's small hand reaching toward Mariah made everything harder. He didn't understand the history. He didn't understand fear. He only recognized familiarity. And that's what unsettled Abby the most, because trauma doesn't erase memory overnight, but children don't carry context. Mariah's voice trembled as she tried to explain herself again. She admitted she had been unstable. She admitted she had made catastrophic decisions. She said she would spend the rest of her life making up for it. Abby didn't flinch. Regret doesn't undo risk, and risk is something Abby refuses to gamble with again. Devin stepped closer to Abby, not dramatically but deliberately. It wasn't possessive, it was protective alignment. For weeks, he had wrestled with empathy versus caution. He knew Mariah had spiraled mentally, but he also knew one unfiltered truth. Dominic was vulnerable. And vulnerability requires boundaries. The confrontation didn't escalate into shouting. It didn't need to. Abby's calm was sharper than anger. "You don't get access just because you're sorry," she said evenly. The words hung in the space between them. Mariah absorbed them, pain visible, shame present. But Abby wasn't responsible for managing Mariah's feelings anymore. That chapter was closed. As Abby walked away with Dominic, something shifted permanently. This wasn't temporary distance. This was structural change. Back at home, Abby sat quietly while Dominic played nearby. The weight of the encounter settled in slowly. Drawing the line felt necessary, but it also felt heavy, because once you redraw boundaries, you can't pretend things will ever return to what they were. Devin joined her later that evening. He didn't question her decision, he supported it. "I won't risk him," he said simply, and in that moment, Abby knew she wasn't standing alone. That unity mattered, but it also solidified something else. Mariah was now outside the circle, and circles, once broken, are rarely reformed in the same shape. Meanwhile, Mariah sat alone, replaying every second of the encounter. She understood Abby's anger. She even agreed with parts of it. But what terrified her most wasn't rejection, it was permanence. If Abby meant what she said, then Mariah's role in Dominic's life wasn't just paused, it was erased. and erasure is harder to survive than conflict. By the end of the episode, one truth became clear. This wasn't just about a kidnapping, it was about trust. And Abby had decided that trust, once shattered, does not regenerate on demand. Dominic's future would now be structured differently. Access would be controlled, contact would be supervised if allowed at all, and emotional lines would no longer blur in the name of unconventional family ideals. The dynamic that once defined them had evolved, or fractured, depending on who you asked. But for Abby, there was no confusion. She chose clarity, and clarity changes everything. The days after the confrontation feel colder, not loud, not dramatic, just colder. Mariah notices it first. The silence, the lack of updates, no photos of Dominic, no casual texts, no invitations. She had expected distance, she didn't expect complete removal. Tessa tries to reassure her. She reminds her that healing takes time, that Abby is acting out of fear, not cruelty. But Mariah understands something deeper. Fear creates permanence, and Abby's fear is rooted in something real. Meanwhile, Abby begins formalizing what she set in motion. She meets with a family attorney, not to punish Mariah, but to protect Dominic legally. Clear custody structures, clear visitation boundaries, documented agreements. Devin sits beside her during the meeting. They don't speak emotionally, they speak practically. Because protection isn't emotional, it's structured. Devin admits something quietly afterward. I don't trust her stability yet. It's not said with anger. It's said with concern. Abby doesn't respond immediately. She just nods. Because she feels the same. Mariah, on the other hand, spirals internally, not into instability, into guilt. She schedules additional therapy sessions. She volunteers for more evaluations. She wants proof she's stable, proof she's safe. But the harsh truth lingers. No amount of progress forces forgiveness. One afternoon, Dominic asks about Mariah. The question catches Abby off guard. Children don't understand boundaries. They understand attachment. Abby kneels down and answers gently, carefully choosing her words. Sometimes grown-ups make mistakes that need space to fix. Dominic nods without fully understanding, but Abby understands something new in that moment. Boundaries protect, but they also reshape childhood. That realization weighs on her. Devin notices the tension building again. He assures Abby that protecting Dominic doesn't make her heartless. It makes her responsible. Still, the emotional complexity lingers because unconventional families don't dissolve cleanly. They unravel. Across town, Mariah makes a decision. Instead of confronting Abby again, she writes her a letter. Not defensive, not pleading, honest. She admits the damage. She admits Abby has every right to protect her son. She doesn't ask for immediate access. She asks for a path, even if it's slow, even if it's supervised. The letter sits unopened on Abby's kitchen counter for hours. Abby stares at it more than once, but she doesn't read it immediately. Because once she reads it, she has to decide, ignore it, or respond. And responding means reopening a door she just sealed shut. By the end of the week, the emotional pressure reaches a quiet peak. Devin gently suggests that long-term healing may require structure, not permanent exile. Abby listens, but she doesn't soften. Not yet. Pushing for more.